Now, today marks the start of 16 Days of Activism campaign for no violence against women and children. We're looking at how the artistic industry is highlighting the movement. Internationally renowned visual artist Kilimanjaro Livesage will host a special exhibition for the campaign at the World Art Gallery in Cape Town, while in Joburg, the State Theatre has partnered with the Total Shutdown movement and will use flash mobs as a call to action. To tell us more, I'm joined in studio by State Theatre Deputy Artistic Director Mamela Nyamaza and Total Shutdown activist Selogadi Mampane. Also with me is Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, known to you and I as Dr. T on Twitter, an activist and doctor who's passionate about sexual health education. A very happy Sunday to you all. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies, this morning. I think I'd like to start with you, Mamela, and talk about the concept and what this essentially means.
Hello, thank you for having me here. Basically, I did a work 2012 called I Stand Corrected. So I took a scene from that work to use it as actually part of the flash mob, the street theater. We're going around. We can have a balloon. If you don't have a balloon, you can have anything you want to crush. And actually, we're gonna show you at the end of the interview what we're gonna do. You write a balloon. This basically stands for the perpetrator. You draw the perpetrator and actually just crush this down and really pop it up. Yeah. Basically, it was a scene I did in I Stand Corrected for women who are actually raped because they had no voices, either you're lesbian, women, children, everybody. So basically, it speaks for all women. So now I'm taking it to be part of this flash mob, doing it in the street theater, because I believe theater is another way of actually healing the nation. It's therapeutic. It's actually something we need to do daily, not only for 16 days. It must be a daily thing throughout the year.
Indeed, that is so symbolic. Kilmay, let me come to you in our Cape Town studios, and let's talk about the collection that you have put together.
So hi, thanks for having me. I'm having a show at World Art, 54 Church Street, over the period of from today until the 10th of December, which is Human Rights. And I have created a mural just celebrating activism against violence on women and children. And the mural is a visual symbol for all the women who have lost their lives or have been raped or been violated by this pandemic that we as women in South Africa are facing. And I'd like to invite the public on First Thursdays, which is next week, to come in and look at the wall and write something on the wall so that we all can have something to say and become part of that mural. So that's pretty much what I'm doing for 16 Days of Activism.
Selogadi, in terms of Total Shutdown, what are we finding in this space and plugging into 16 days of no violence against women and children?
It's tricky because in the context of the violence that women experience throughout the year, this 16 days can almost feel like a bit of gaslighting. It's highlighted that you have assistance, that there are programs to help you, yet at the same time, during this time of the year, there are women who don't have access to adequate services. You have lesbian women who are told by local community councillors that we don't work with your kind of people, we don't counsel lesbians. And so you have this jarring experience of feeling isolated, of not getting adequate care or services, yet being told at a national scale that you are being supported. And so it's contentious having to engage with these 16 days, but we need to as well because we have to be strategic. People are paying attention. We have to partner with other people. We have to do everything we can to emphasize that we need this throughout the year, that this isn't just a 16 days issue, that it's something that we need to focus on, as Mamela said, throughout the entire year. And so we will be working to continue this work and this project all the way through to next year's 16 days as well, to engage people through street theatre, to engage the public through art.
100%. Dr. T, some important themes have been ventilated here. We saw in the week Kenya banning Murray Stokes from performing abortions or even advertising in terms of abortion. So there's so many issues that we find in terms of reproductive health as well. On a continental level, where are we? Are we progressing or are we regressing when this topic is concerned?
I think on a regional, in terms of Africa, not only are we regressing, but the regressions mean literal death for so many people. Uganda is one example, Tanzania is another example, where people of gender minorities are attacked and deliberately sought out to be outed and then punished, and again sometimes by death. Women still do not have access to integrated services. So when you do present to a police station, and it's a story that we know that has become such a South African story, it's actually quite sad, where people joke about the type of violence you've endured, or they joke about how you're looking, or some form of relationship status that you have, attached to, to another man or your perpetrator. And of course, the lack of those post-trauma counseling services, which should be immediate, right? So the letdown and people feeling frustrated. It's not, of course, a South Africa thing, but I think it's a sign of a broader society that doesn't really care, firstly, and those who are in leadership in positions of implementation really don't have the necessary vigor that it requires to sort out this crisis that it is. And, seeing patients and clients who are survivors of this violence, from newborn babies all the way up to older individuals, it shows you that this is not just an issue of a specific demographic in society, but the failures impact mostly women, children, people who are differently abled, people who cannot sign, right, or who are hard of hearing, where the policing, the health system, the justice system is not really geared to assist those people.
Yeah. Sometimes you talk to friends, or when you have dinner table conversations, you find some people getting irritated almost as if like, it's your fault. You should take care of yourself. You shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you would be exposed to rape, or where you'd be exposed to those kinds of conversations. How dangerous is that rhetoric, Dr. T?
It's very dangerous. Victim blaming and victim shaming are the two fundamental issues why people remain silent. Even those who may project outward confidence or bravery, at some point when this happens to you and you fail to act, like us as activists, we get raped too, we get violated, and there's this certain sense of inner self-loathing, like how could I not fight for myself? How could I not speak up? And we forget the trauma and the intense shock, right, that often comes with these types of violence. And therefore, without that immediate containment, without having communities and wards at ward level where people can run away to places of safety immediately, there's no point telling a survivor of violence that we don't have space for you, the waiting list is 3 months, right? And that then they get stuck with those perpetrators. It's a continuous violation, and then they start believing that. Then they really start to believe that this was my fault, because look, everyone around me is acting like this is absolutely normal. So we are normalizing behavior that's toxic, that's violent, that has lifelong consequences for people's physical and mental health.
100%. Kilmeni, let me just bring you into the conversation from our Cape Town studios. I just want to go back and talk about what influenced this collection.
Well, the influence most certainly comes from the total shutdown movement. I was completely inspired by all the testimonies, the stories that have been coming out. And I just decided to create a mural with a visual image of panties, because I had seen a summit where Cyril Ramaphosa was in the house with total shutdown. And when he spoke, all the ladies stood up with panties. And I just thought that was such a powerful symbol to represent this pandemic that we are experiencing in South Africa. So the mural is made with that in mind, and just to create a real stand for what is now becoming a everyday situation, that man can just think that he can violate and take over, and I'm just visually showing that's not cool. That's not okay.
Yeah. Mamela Silogadi, you guys have your balloons ready. So let's do this and talk us through what a person who comes then to this activation would be doing.
Okay. Basically, we plead all artists, all people for all forms of life to join us throughout the street theater. All you're going to do, get your balloon, you actually draw your perpetrator in whatever way you want them to be. Of course, it's not going to be a nice kind of a drawing on the balloon. It's very noisy. And you're doing this in front of everyone, anywhere. You can be anywhere, in Pretoria, in Cape Town. It's a global pandemic, so we need to put an end in it.
Yes.
And then we're going to say, hear us out. My body, not your crime scene.
Oh.
And then this can happen anyway. it can happen here. This was our first performance as
Yeah.
it starts today.
Yeah.
So we actually want everybody, wherever they are, to join us, because
Yeah.
this is a societal issue. It needs everybody, not
Yeah.
just women,
Yeah.
even men. We had men too at the State Theatre who joined us yesterday. And sometimes when it comes from men themselves, it also makes other men to actually be like, oh my God, is this what we're doing to women? So basically, as artists, this is what we do in our work. We try to provoke and make people think. We don't want to be literal about it. We want people to think what they're doing. And that's what the course will be about.
Silhadi, when that balloon pops, there's just something that happens to you. Like
Yes.
your heart skips a beat.
Yes.
And even the context of it, to go through the experience, that practice of drawing this face and drawing whatever comes to mind, whatever you feel, and the actual act of crushing that is an experience that you share in a group of people, the group of women that actually resonates with you, that does something for you, makes you feel you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's actually an action that you can express your resistance to this pain and to this suffering. And we're doing it in Pretoria. We meet at the State Theatre
Yes.
on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
At 12 o'clock we meet there. And this will be our first week initiation, and today, of course, on your show.
Dr. T, access is so important. I want us to speak to little girls, as Lalini, who don't have access, who don't even know that these kind of conversations happen, who don't even know that you have authority over your body because you're raised that someone else has authority over your body, over your emotions. How do we reach? There's so many girls that we have left out. How do we reach them?
We have to go all at it at the same time and use our allyship from across industries. And I think geographically you are quite right. The way that South Africa is still planned out still means that just by being in a certain location, you are cut out of services, you are cut out of information. So this has to be a deliberate act. I think the 16 days offers us a time to put all our energies together, right? But in between all of that, we can really do the reach out processes where a lot of us don't have the budgets of mass media, right? So we depend on community radio stations, we depend on theatre, reaching people, but we also depend on curriculum. Every single child is in a school Monday to Friday. So we need to demand a curriculum that can really look at giving the children an understanding of what rights are, but what literally these rights mean in my real life, daily life. And it's only when children know their rights, when young people know their rights, when the elderly know their rights, that they can demand them. And that demand has to be met with comprehensive, accessible services, which is what I'm advocating for. And we can't delay. This has to be right now. But we have to form partnerships and allies across the country.
We're very tight for time, but I'm going to squeeze this in. I want us to talk to parents as well, specifically mothers. At times, like it or not, we are the biggest gatekeepers of patriarchy. Let's talk to our mothers in terms of the messages that they give to young girls.
Yeah, it's very important to realize that patriarchy is non-gendered. So it's about power. And the minute we understand that patriarchy is about power and rape is not about sex, we'll understand that those who are in authority at work can still be perpetrators of patriarchy, right? Because it rewards. There's a reward system attached to it. Those in schools, we know the number of school children who are being raped, right? We know a lot of mothers who themselves had their own children through rape and had no access to post-trauma care. So there is so much that even as people who are caregivers, because even in South Africa, not only mothers are the ones raising children. We have bogogos like some of us, grannies who are raising our children. How are they being supported, right? With information, with access. How do they? Is there a number they can phone that they can trust, that the person will not ridicule them? That's what's really important. But we need to really realize that we all have to go at this at the same time, all at once.
Ladies, thank you so much. This was so powerful, and the work that you do is so important. It's a group effort, and we have to go and get those who are left behind as well. Thank you very much for coming through to chat to us. Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, visual artist, Kilmani Joe, Liversedge, total shutdown activist, Silogadi Mambane, and State Theatre Deputy Artistic Director, Mamela Nyamaza Engos.